Just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's been watching and commenting and subscribing. Just heading out to the garage and we'll try and get some stuff done. Hopefully get this compressor running tonight. Okay, so I'm working on finishing the electrical hookup for my compressor. My last video showed making the connection at the compressor end, and I just finished my wiring run and got my new 220 volt line run along the ceiling. It's up on the top of the wall framing. It's not secured up there yet. I've got to pull out all my shelving and parts storage and everything I've got down the side of the garage to be able to get up there and put some cable ties on it, but it's secure enough for now. It's going through a hole on the top plate of the wall framing and then coming back down through a hole. In fact, let me show you that. So let's see. So you should be able to see the orange wire there. It's coming down to my circuit breaker panel, and I'll try zooming in. Might be a bit shaky, but you can see that goes up into a hole in the top plate. Oh. Camera was trying to fall off the tripod. There we go. So it goes into focus. Yeah. Into a hole in the top plate of the wall framing, and then it goes across and runs across the top of the ceiling. That's not going to focus right, is it? And then from the ceiling it's coming down, and you can see I've left plenty of slack. I'm going to bring it across and tie it into the same cable ties that the existing 110 circuits are anchored with, and then down into the top of the breaker box. So, because it's running through those two holes to get over and then back under the framing, it's actually just under its own weight. It's got to hold in there pretty securely. So as I said, I cut the cable run plenty of length beyond what I actually need. That's going to let me route it through those two cable ties, get it into the box, and then have plenty of room to run wires wherever I need in the box, so I can trim to length when I've got everything set up where I want it. So I'm just going to get the wires through the cable ties, get it secure at this end, and then I'll come back and I'll open up the breaker box and I'll explain to you what I'm doing and my basic how-to, which I'm not an electrician. I figured this out from videos on YouTube, and maybe I'll try and include a link to the YouTube Garage Gang YouTube channel that Greg M. Porter set up, actually, which has a few good videos on getting compressors set up and installed, and it has one or two on the electrical. I recommend you look at that rather than relying purely on me, but this will give you an idea of what's involved if you feel like it might be something you want to tackle. So I'll be back after I get this last bit of cable routing done. Okay, that turned out to be a lot easier than I expected it to be. So the cable is now tied off there, and it can come down into the top of the breaker panel. So I'm going to take the cover off that, and then I have to put in a new breaker for the new 220 volt line and wire that up. And one thing I should point out is it's really important that there'd be no power going through this thing when you open it up. So this garage is a detached structure, and there's an isolator breaker on the main fuse panel for the house. So I flipped that off, and there is no power coming out here at the moment. So this is all safe. I can open it up and touch anything I want and not kill myself, basically. So I'm going to get set up here, and I'll show you how to open this up and put the new 220 volt circuit in. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is take this entire front panel off the circuit box, and there should be 4 screws. This one only has 2, the bottom 2 are missing. Go figure, it's an older house. The other thing you'll notice here is right here, right in here, there's some holes. Don't know if you can see that clearly. There's a bunch of breakers on one side and there's only one breaker on the other side. Usually those will be blanked off. They should be blanked off. This circuit panel has probably been reused from another application, or it's just had circuits added and removed over the years. And those breaker or blanking panels have been broken out at some point, popped out. So usually you see some blanks there, and that will tell you that you've got some empty slots to put breakers into. The other situation you might have is you might not have any blank slots, no holes, no blanking plates, just breakers all the way through your panel. If that's the case, then all of your circuits have breakers in them. Just lift this off, see the inside of the box. And if you've got breakers all the way through here, you'll have to determine if all of those circuits are actually in use. If they are, you're going to have to do something to free yourself up some extra circuits. So these breakers, they snap in and out. They look like this. And if I was to put this one in here, it would just clip in and snap into place. So if you're in the situation where you've got all circuits in use, and you've confirmed that not only is it all the breakers are there, but all of them are driving actual circuits that are live and that you need, what you can do is you can actually replace one of these with a mini breaker that has 2 circuits. So it's a breaker that's half the size, that plugs into one slot, but can run 2 circuits. You can then replace 2 breakers with 1 mini breaker, and that will open up 1 circuit. But for 220 volts, you need a double breaker. So this is the same thing as a single breaker, but it has 2 switches on it, or a double gang switch that goes across the 2 breakers. So you need 2 open slots next to each other, obviously, in your breaker panel. So you might have to take a couple of breakers out and replace them with mini breakers to open up enough slots. Once you've done that, once you've got slots free, you'll be able to plug this double breaker in. And I should point out that because this is a 220 volt circuit that I'm running, that does require a double breaker like this. And the reason for that will become a little more apparent when we get to actually wiring it. So bear that in mind, and you might want to do some planning ahead and check out your breaker panel, especially if it's if you only have one breaker panel for your whole house, garage and everything. If you don't have a separate box in your garage or shop, there's a good chance you might actually not have room to plug in your 220 volt circuit and have to do some rearranging. So figure that out, and if you have to do that, get that taken care of first. And then this is a 220 volt circuit, so you'll see that the way this is wired normally, we've got all the white wires coming down here, and all of the bare copper ground wires actually also coming down here. So the ground and common on this breaker box are going to the same distribution bar. I don't know if it's a more modern standard or whether it's just because this is a smaller breaker box, but what I've usually seen is all the grounds will go to one set of anchors, and then all the commons will come to a bar down one side, or located somewhere else away from the grounds. What's going to be different with this, when we strip this orange wire, we're going to have white, black and bare copper ground, same as you would for a 110 volt circuit. But the white common isn't going to go to the common ground block here. You can see how the black all come into the breakers. Those are the hot wires, the positive feed as it were. For a 220 volt circuit, both white and black are hot wires. So we're going to have a white come into the breaker and we're going to have a black come into the breaker, and that's why you have to use a double breaker, because you're actually effectively running two circuits down one 3-core wire. So I'm going to get this cable pulled into the electrical box, clamped safely. All the cables are coming in to the top. Actually, I've got one coming out at the bottom. These cables obviously are the main hookup. That's the main in to the house, the main in to this breaker coming from the house. And if you don't have this isolated, if you don't have a breaker to isolate it at your main fuse panel, on some breaker boxes there'll be a mains on-off switch, isolation switch in here. You can flip that off to make all of this turn off, so you can work in here without getting shocked. But you should be aware that you're going to have still live power coming in here, so you don't want to touch down here. I'm safe because I've got this all isolated back at the house, but if you use a main on-off switch within the breaker box itself, bear in mind you do still have live wires coming in here, so be careful. So what was I saying? Yeah, the cables that come out of this box, these are all these white cables that are coming out at the top and the one that's coming out at the bottom. Those are all the circuits that are running around the shop. Those are my lighting and power outlets. And I've got to get this in here. So I actually have, perfect, I actually have one wire clamp up here, and it's actually the same kind of thing I showed you on the compressor that I installed over there. I've got one up here that has nothing routed through it, no wires coming through it. So that's going to make my life a lot easier, because otherwise I would have had to chase this through one of the circuit clamps that is already mostly full, and that could have been quite challenging. So I'm going to take advantage of what I've got there, bring this in through here, and once it's in, I'll clamp it so it's secure and it's not going anywhere. And then I'll strip all of the outer insulation, the orange outer insulation. So I've just got my white, black and ground hanging loose inside the box. Then I can route those exactly where I want them, trim them to length, hook them up, and the job will be done. And I made it sound simple there, but if you watch my last video, you know these things are never quite as simple as you think they're going to be. So let me get the cable into the electrical box and stripped out and ready, and then I'll come back and show you the next step. Alright, it's starting to get a little gloomy in here, so I put a little bit of task lighting on the panel. Hopefully that'll mean you can see okay. So I don't know if you can see that. It's a bit hard for me to see what you can see from this angle, but that's the cable going into the top of the fuse panel into one of those cable clamps that I mentioned, and that's clamped securely in there. And then you should just be able to see the tip of the orange outer insulation, and from there on I've stripped the outer insulation and the inner paper insulation completely off. You want to expose all of the wires, I mean don't expose the copper in the white and black, but you want to expose your white, your black and your ground lead, if you can see that there. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and routed them, so it might not be easy to see, but from here the ground is coming across with all the other wires that are headed out to this block, and that's going to connect into right there. And then the white and black, I've taken them together and straight down the side. And the reason they're together is because, as I mentioned, they're both going to be hot circuits. Now I've got all these sections open, so I think I'm going to put my double breaker right here, leaving just one open slot at the top. So the white and the black are going to come into that, and the ground is going to go in up here, as I mentioned. So I'll put the camera back down on the tripod so it's not quite so shaky. I have two hands to do this with, and I'll show you how to get the double breaker in there and connect everything up. So 1 second. Alright, so hopefully you'll be able to see clearly enough what I'm doing. This breaker, bring this up closer to the camera, you'll hopefully be able to see it well enough. So there's the top with the switches. On the back, which way around are we? This way around. On the back at this end there's a couple of tabs or holes. Those are locating tabs that are going to hook in to the side of the breaker box within the electrical panel. That's going to hook in and then just snap into place. So it might take a couple of tries to get this, but I get it in there. Make sure I've got it hooked on. Make sure it's off. Everything's turned off here, obviously, but just every precaution you can take when you're working on electrical. And when I turn the power back onto the breaker, I don't want to accidentally have left to the fuse box. I don't want to have accidentally left this switched on, so I'm going to check it as I go. And I probably should have tried test fitting this before I came back on camera. So what's going on? I just realised what I'm doing wrong. That was right before. That's got it. Okay, it just wasn't clipping in properly on this side. So that's in, I think. Tighter fit than I thought. Okay, so that's just snapped in there. Make sure I haven't disturbed the others any. And that's now where we're going to come in for our hookup with white to one, black to one. So I think what I'm going to do first is get the ground anchored, find myself an open slot up there to do that, and then I'll anchor the white and black. So it's probably going to take a little fiddling around to get this ground wire locked in. So I'll pause the video again and come back when I've got that done. Alright, so moment of truth. Flip the main breaker in the house, and yeah, lights are back on in the garage. So I didn't short anything out. The existing circuits haven't all flipped out and tripped. We're ready to flip the breaker on the new circuit. Now, one thing I should point out, I haven't put the cover back on here. I should have before I turned the breaker back on. I really shouldn't be putting my fingers anywhere near this when it's live, let alone working with screws and screwdrivers and stuff, putting that cover back on if I slip. Well, yeah. Enough said. I should have done that first. I didn't, but I'm going to take a risk on it because I'm excited. I want to see this compressor on. So hopefully, when I flip this on, nothing goes bang. Hey presto, so far so good. Now this will be the first time that this compressor has run. As you guys know if you've been watching. So I'm going to plug my lights in here. My extra lights. And let's get you set up over here. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see much there, but you'll be able to hear it. So, if I've done everything right, I'm just going to have a quick look around with this once over. Make sure nothing's gotten poked in where it shouldn't be. Everything looks steady and stable and ready to go. So, in theory, when I turn this on, the compressor should spin up. I'm just going to turn it on briefly just to confirm that it does. And then I'll follow the first start procedure, the braking procedure, as it were, that is specified in the manual. But this is going to be a first start just to confirm that the electrical is all done and all good. So, fingers crossed, here we go. Nothing. That's a disappointment. Alright, so I'm going to have to pop that cover off and get a electrical tester and see if I can figure out what's going on, if I've not got the hook up right at the breaker panel, if I have power coming down this line at all. So time for some diagnostics and I'll be back. Alright, end of the evening for compressor update. Somewhere in the course of this I've misplaced my circuit tester, so I can't actually check where the fault lies in this circuit. If there is a fault in the circuit, or potentially there's a fault in the compressor, that would be really annoying. But I'll find that, or run out and pick up another one and trace this down, just to tidy up and, you know, to be safe. I put the cover back on the breaker box, flipped the new breaker to off, so if there is a fault somewhere in my new wiring, that's not going to cause any issues. Also flipped the compressor off, again just to be safe. So everything's safed up, we're all tidied up for the night, and when I find my circuit tester, or failing that when I go pick up another one tomorrow, I'll track down the problem and figure out what's going on. So, bit of a downer, but since that is a bit of a disappointment, I thought I'd show you something else, car related instead of shop related. Actually talk about the Fury a little bit for a few minutes. So give me a minute to pull some bits and pieces out, and this is kind of cool. Back in a minute. Like I said, something a little bit fun to close out the video. I might get out here after I eat, but I probably won't get around to uploading that video tonight because it's taking a long time. And if you use iMovie on a Mac to edit out your videos for YouTube, and you have any tips for speeding the whole process up, let me know. But anyway, something fun. When I bought this car from the guy that was working on it before me, it came with some interesting extra goodies, which is this little pile you see right here. So basically he figured, you know what, if I ever sell this car, someone might one day want to put it back stock. So I won't get rid of any of the things I take off of it. I'll keep them. Maybe they'd make a cool little side display for a show, or someone might want them, or you know, if I sell the car and they don't want them, they can have them and they can sell them. So I got this pile of parts, old rusty stuff and bits of engine and all sorts. So I don't know if you can see that from that distance at that angle. That right there says Eelbrock, and this is the chrome valve covers, the original box that those came in, that he put on the engine. And let's see, yeah, I think you can see that, and you'll be able to see what's in it very clearly from that distance, I guess. I don't know, but hopefully you can see this on camera. So what's in here? Not the chrome valve covers that came in it. This is all kinds of stuff that came out of the engine when he rebuilt it. Wire brush, actually, that's kind of handy. Tool shed, but we've got old gaskets, all kinds of bits and pieces. There we go. Bearings, more gaskets, stud bolt, I would imagine. More bearings. And I honestly have no idea off the top of my head what that is, but anyway, a bunch of bits of what came out of the engine. If you watched my intro video, you probably saw, albeit that it was blurry, but you would have seen a chrome pancake air filter on there. And if I remember right, what we got here. Yep. Spare air filter for that. It's handy, that can definitely go on the parts shelf. And then, now you can see what was underneath those is, well, in fact, let me shift the camera, zoom in a bit and give you a little bit better view of what all is in here. So, kinds of stuff. There's the old radiator that came out. There's an aftermarket aluminium radiator in there now. Oh, sorry, aluminum. I'm in America now. The old air filter, obviously. Over here, you can see the old valve covers, and sitting under them. Oh, bit awkward to see with all the other stuff piled on top, but that's the old heads that came off it. And then, yeah, you can see a bunch of other stuff. Probably won't be too clear. Oops. We'll see if we can get a little bit of a look. There's, I just have this all in a heap on the floor right now. I've got to get it organised. This was actually all in the trunk of the car. So you can imagine when the car arrived, the back end was sitting pretty low. I actually drove it up my driveway just to try it out, and I bottomed out the exhaust a couple of times. But what are we looking at there? There's a piece of, well, it looks like it's probably a piece of frame that got taken off and replaced. There's some rusted out weather strips, which I added to the pile. I took them off the car, and I actually have all new weather seals. I think pretty much everything. There were a couple of things that Steel Rubber didn't have in stock that I've still got to track down, but I bought most of it. Anything else that's interesting to look at? Not sure what that is. I don't know. Oh, there you go. Old distributor. I think tucked behind that is the old carburetor. Yeah, just kind of cool. I'm kind of scared to throw any of it away, or sell it, or otherwise dispose of it until I know that there's nothing in that heap. Oh, I just spotted another thing there is an old oil pan. So obviously he replaced that. I didn't realise that. And wow, I think that's the old intake sitting underneath that as well. Cool. Yeah, anyway, I don't want to throw any of it out until I'm absolutely sure. I don't need any of it, that there's nothing in that pile that shouldn't be, because that pile should all be surplus to requirements. But I thought it was kind of cool that I got that, and you know, I have those spare bits. Can't remember if I mentioned in the last video, or first video I did, the intro video, but this car has, oh, this tripod's stiffening up. Yeah, I can't remember if I mentioned it or not, but the car has the original factory engine in it, and it's the 318 V8. As you probably guessed from the fact that I just showed you two sets of valve covers and heads and whatnot. Done. So yeah, I've essentially got a bunch of spare bits for a 318 V8, and a bunch of junk that came out of a 318 V8. Yeah, eventually that'll probably wind up going on eBay, getting sold off, because I can't see that much point in keeping it. Although, well, I guess the heads might be worth keeping. I mean, they're complete. The valves are still in there. There's, you know, valve springs. We'll get in there to open one up. I guess it's not in shot anyway, so I won't bother. But yeah, the heads are exactly as they came off the car. I mean, they've still got spark plugs in and everything. So I guess some of those bits are worth keeping, tucking away somewhere for a rainy day, something like that. But anyway, that's it. That's my wrap up. So once again, thanks for watching, commenting, subscribing, and I'll be back with an update once I've figured out what is going on with that compressor. So take it easy, YouTube.